I'm going to step out of the moderator space for just a moment to say what's on my heart on this particular conference. So I was telling Anthony that I started coming, I think the second one he started right after we came out of lockdown. And as I look back, I haven't missed any. So I think it's been like 15 or 16 in a row. And people are asking me, like, why do I keep coming back? So I'll say this. I think originally I was meeting really great people like all of you. And something really changed about, I'd say, in the first Miami event, Anthony, where I felt that it was beyond going to just to come. I think actually we were actually making really strong bonds. And this is where I think it really came together at this one in Lake Como, because you have people like Brian, right? You have people like Gordon. And I mean, I haven't gotten a chance to meet every single person. I know a lot of you know who I am, but I really feel like we're creating a community, and it's not just coming, because we all go to a lot of events. But I really mean it from the bottom of my heart that I feel like there's real connective tissue being happening here. What I really liked earlier today, so I'm going to wrap two more concepts together. I like that Kyle had mentioned he brought his wife, Nikita. Anmal brought his mother. I don't know if they're still in the room or not, but he was here. And I'm going to also talk about, tying it with what Gordon just said, about sales. I was trained in sales. I didn't like it. I became more of a receiver, a buyer. But my daughter is coming with me this trip. She's in her final year of university. And I made her a pitch coming to what university she wanted to go to. She had a chance to go to my university, which is very close to our home and very close to her mother's, our parents. And I had made her discuss why she was going to the Midwest. Although where she's going to the Midwest is actually better known than Bakersfield. So, but that post on Facebook actually went viral. And I think it was a reminder that we're actually here for legacy. We're actually here for family. We're actually here for building out the next generation. So that's kind of what I want to wrap it up with. So please take a seat. Oh, I thought you were coming up. We're missing a few people. Where's Lenny? There. Of course, there's Lenny and Simon, who I'd met a few years ago and saw them at the Monaco event. Congratulations on your engagement. And that's what I want to really think is, I think we're really actually building a family here. So I'm really excited for the membership group that Anthony and Brian are starting, and I just want to see everyone continue to thrive. So on the same thing, that we heard today that there are deals that, when we did the co-investment panel earlier, we actually talked about how the best deals are the things that are kind of off market, things that you don't necessarily know, but you can only get access to them because you hear about them from someone or some gathering like this. I had mentioned earlier that as an LP in our fund, some of our best deals are when the founder themselves says, we want you to be on the cap table. We're going to give you a personal allocation. So with that, I want each of the panelists to do an introduction, and then we're going to get right into their proprietary methods of investment. So we're going to start with Lenny.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Anthony and team, for an incredible conference. This is my second time now, a few years later after Monaco, and just gets better every year. So thank you so much, and incredible people here, by the way. My name is Lenny Andronicus. I am co-founder and CEO of Numi. We build an AI that manages your entire financial life. It invests for you. It pays your bills. It manages your savings and loans totally on autopilot. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This is my third startup, originally from Australia and now calling Dubai home.
Dubai and Lake Como.
Yes, we have a little house up the road if anyone wants to come for our after party.
Thanks, Lenny. George.
Yes, hi, Kit. My name is George Sebastio. It's a pleasure to be here. We're what we call the graveyard shift, which is the end of the day, but we saved always the best for last. I am a co-founder of EcoX, which is one of the largest ecosystems that we built over the last 8 years in Dubai and 16 other locations, because at the end of the day, for this to be successful, we need to have a good community. I've had the chance to also publish a recent book. I invite you to have a look at it, called MBC, which is a bit of what we're doing here. Money, brains, and connections. You want to have successful in business and startups. You need these 3 legs on your stool. And other than that, accelerating lots of startups in the process as well.
Thanks, George.
Hello, and first of all, I just want to express my gratitude to be speaking in front of so many extraordinary people who can change the economic global shape of this world. My name is Simona Pelin. I'm born in Romania, but I went for the American dream. So I went to America at the age of 20, and I opened a company called S&P Group. I'm the CEO, and I have a small family office in real estate investments. And I'm here to talk not about my adoptive country, America, but my native part of the world, East Europe, and how the real estate is taking an amazing shape in East Europe, and about the economic growth in East Europe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Yorick Evans Streck. I'm an ex-operator and builder and currently the founder and managing partner of Dark Horse Venture Partners. Now we are the seed and pre-seed stage fund backing the regulated institutionalization of on-chain finance. I know that's a bit of a mouthful, but I'll explain it as we go.
Hi, Keith. First of all, thank you for having me here. I'm grateful and thankful. I'm Safia Bashir, born in Kashmir, raised in London. Now I'm working with a family office. I'm also working with commercial offices in UK with a company called Piccadilly & Co. The aim is to empower the local and global community while we make money for the investors, but more importantly, to empower those who are struggling, especially in people who are homeless in the UK and water globally. At a very young age, when I was around 6 years old, I learned to find water for my family in Kashmir. And I had the vision, one day I'm gonna become the water boy, not just for Kashmir, not just for my family, for the world. So all my businesses, all the transactions we do, we make sure that we feed the people locally and globally so we can create a better world.
That's very noble, Safir. And I'm sure you've probably met Pete at this point. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Felix. I'm an entrepreneur, repeat founder, scaled brands in consumer health, fintech, now in the infrastructure side. How many of you saw the PuraPipe presentation yesterday? Thank you so much. Some tremendous, PuraPipe, we're focused on one of the world's most urgent infrastructure challenges, water security. We have a solution that instead of wasting, let's say 50% of water, we deliver 100% of the water in half the time at half the cost, roughly. So thank you so much for your interest, and it's a real pleasure, and thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for the introductions, everyone. And I think I'm going to start with Safir, representing a single family office. If you're willing, of course, this is all opt-in, is if you have an investment that you're currently working on that you believe the rest of the room has not yet heard of, and ideally, something that's outside of what you, for the operators, when you get to those questions, something that you're not personally involved with, something that you're looking at. So, Safir.
One of the investment I was intrigued by is the olive trees and the role the olive trees have played in the world history, and especially looking at what's going on with olive trees in Italy is fascinating. In last 12 years, over 20 million trees have died. And if we do not kind of look into our nature, into our being, and if we dismiss the role of the olive trees, we won't eradicate orphans, widows, poverty, or the water issue we have. So we have to go back to our land and plant the seeds, because I don't know if you know, average olive tree lives for 2,000 years. So if we can plant olive trees today, it's going to feed the world for, let's just say, 2,000 years. So I'm very much interested in working with byproducts for olive trees.
Thank you. Felix.
I think for me, if I just extend a little bit on PuraPipe, what you may not have seen so far is that one of the things that I love is that, this is solving problems that are, guaranteed leak-free 50 years. So you're talking about long duration cash flows and also huge impact that will transcend generations. And that level of impact for me is rare in business, because you can find great investments, but great investments that make a difference to humanity, make a difference to the world, they're more rare. And so, yeah, that's why I would highlight it.
Let's stay with that, Felix, because I think that is also a very honorable, noble, or aspirational. But because of all the differences in people's philosophies, how do you actually objectively value that?
How do you value?
Well, you're saying that, right, you're talking about investments versus, let's call it impact investing. How would a group of people evaluate whether that is something they're aligned with or not?
I would say,
And water is universal, so let's get that one out of the way. But in terms of other types of investments,
well, I would say many times you can find businesses where you don't have to separate the two. And so you don't have to separately value the benefit of making a social difference or a humanitarian impact because the cash flows will stack up on their own right if you're disruptive enough. So oftentimes, I think someone on the last...
Gordon had just mentioned something similar to that.
Yeah. So I would probably aim in that direction. That, if you can make it live without relying on the social impact, then it's just an absolute delight that you're making that impact whilst also delivering on your investment objectives.
Thank you. We'll go over to Lenny.
I mean, I don't think I would be a good entrepreneur if I didn't invest every single dollar I have and every hour I have into the industry that I'm working with. I would love to see a show of hands who here has heard about open finance. So maybe some of you are raising your hand because you're thinking about open banking, which has been around for the last 5 years or so, which gave companies read access to financial information like bank account data, transactions, wealth. What's happening now is the very early days of something called open finance, which for the first time gives companies access to execute transactions of wealth. And for everybody in this room who's running a family office, you need to become very familiar with open finance because it's going to change how your job works in the next 5 years. So what I look at very closely is open finance protocols, projects, fintechs, regulators, all building on top of open finance.
And Lenny, just because it's jogging my memory, would you know if that's related to a protocol called OFX?
Could be.
Okay. Well, back in the mid-90s, I was offered a role. I didn't take it, but OFX was a consortium between Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Intuit, and some other technology, bank and technology companies. It didn't go anywhere as a consortium because we were talking about consortium, but it was the underpinnings of solutions like PayPal, which of course then got us to where we are today. So it'd be interesting to know if that was related, but thank you for the example. George.
My area of focus has been primarily, and I usually, when I talk to people, I says, what I'm really providing you as value is diminishing your operational risk. So that combines several technologies in which we diminish that risk. So how do we diminish the risk factors that today we have in AI? What are the bottlenecks? Bottlenecks are obviously power and cooling. If we talk more specifically about agentic AI, is definitely cybersecurity, because now we're giving power to agents who really understand the operational risks that go along with that. So if we are able to combine and diminish that risk, that means we are actually in a more safe environment and we get control much better returns to the investors. And that provides much better value. So today, if I give you the example of a car, which everybody understands very well, I was discussing that just a few minutes ago. If you bought a car 40 years ago, probably did not have seat belt. The cars that you see outside or you drive every day today have not only a seat belt, they have a traction control, ABX, collision avoidance system, and all that. So diminishing the risk is really about the combination of all these effects to actually drive in a safe way, or getting you here safely so that your investment objectives actually succeed. So if you do that, then AI and the other technologies will succeed much better.
And George, I think it's important for everyone to understand, how many people, show of hands, how many people know what agentic AI is by now? Oh, not as many as I thought. How many people know what the risks could be? BD, obviously. No, George, you want to talk about the risks of agentic AI?
I can give you just 2 or 3 quick.
Just a cyber one, yeah.
Cyber, okay. So agentic AI, you give him permissions, spends $450 million that you earn without you having any control. Agentic AI goes out and destroys 20 years of your data in less than 3 minutes. What happens to your business? It's not just a disaster, it's a complete crisis, existential crisis for your business.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I actually just challenge that?
Go ahead, Lene.
Because I think the most incredible part with agentic AI, specifically in finance, so you said about wasting hundreds of millions of dollars, is that with agents, every single decision is recorded. Every single action in regulated companies is reversible. And agents learn from every single mistake that they make, and they don't make the same mistake. So my opinion on this matter is that actually agentic AI, especially in finance, we're going to have stronger guardrails than if humans were managing money. What is your opinion on that?
I think you have to design the guardrails before you actually implement the system, because if you give permissions to your agents without putting those guardrails in place, you're actually going to put your business at risk, which means the first mistake can completely wipe out your business forever. Yes, agents do learn, agents can behave better, agents can correlate thousands of dimensions much better than the humans can, but one single mistake can be very costly. Let me give you an example, because it's a very important aspect. If you're using AI for computer trading, for example, algorithmic trading, you make 55%, you're winning. If I ever use algorithmic for driving an airplane and the airplane crashes, it doesn't matter. One single crash and there's no second crash. So I think we have to build the necessary controls from the beginning, not after the disasters have actually happened.
And that's why agentic AI needs to be regulated in finance.
It needs to be regulated, but you need to also put the necessary controls in place. I just finished a presentation in Lisbon about 5 days ago about the risk aspects of agentic AI, and I described in detail that today people are deploying agentic AI without the necessary controls in place. So they're putting their business at extreme risk of operational catastrophe.
Yeah, I apologize to Simona and York. We're going to get to you in a moment, but this is a really important aspect. I'm going to try to harmonize both what Lenny and George are saying. I know you know usually me as a moderator, but I was actually at New York Tech Week speaking on this exact topic, not knowing we're going to get there right now. But what they're both describing, I would even say for businesses, is kind of like personal agency, things that you choose to do. And I think that there's that aspect of it. There's also the institutional aspect of it. So we think about what's going on with Anthropic and why the US government stopped the ability to use certain high-end models. That's one part of it, but it started months earlier because that a model like Anthropic is able to find vulnerabilities. And so if you think about it, we used to say in software development that the complexity of a Cisco systems where I came from, our code, nobody's gonna ever bother hacking our software because it's too complicated, it takes too much time. So going back to agentic AI being deployed towards old vulnerable code, you can actually find these vulnerabilities almost instantaneously. I think the Department of Defense in the US just talked about this week that internally, their experts using Anthropic, they were able to break into every single critical system in their test. We called a sandbox, but they were able to break in like, what was it, George, like 90 minutes? Something like that, right? Yeah. So there's the personal agency and then there's the institutional. So I think that in terms of, we will get to a point of regulations, but in the meantime, if you're trying out agentic AI, do put your own personal guardrails in your systems so that you don't have your wallets wiped out immediately because you did something you didn't want to do. Because as much as Lenny says, we do want to get to the point where we can track transactions. Right now, if you don't know what you're doing, you could actually wipe out a lot of critical systems. So moving on, but thank you. I think that was a good conversation. Simona, the question back to what is an area you think that the rest of the room doesn't know about that actually is something you're looking at that would actually make a good investment?
It's a hard question. I think everybody who is here is qualified in a lot of aspects of the
It
business.
is totally subjective, right? Personal taste.
Well, probably my story, it's related with a lot of people in the room. a young immigrant going to a major country with $50 in the pocket. And very fast, I realized that it's three big powers in America, of course, banking, insurance, and real estate. So I took a little bit the easy one, real estate, and I started developing luxury villas in a lot of states in America, New York, New Jersey, Florida, Connecticut, etc. And soon I learned that real estate is not about buildings or lands. It's about opportunity, creating opportunity in all over the world. So that made me think about my natal country, Romania, and East Europe. And I realized that it's an undeveloped market there. The prices, they still so much under, the more upscale countries like America. The soft cost is so much low, you cannot even compare the cost. And I started moving my business to East Europe. And of course, as I said before, the social impact, that it's also a big point in my decision, because these countries need a lot of help right now. And with everything going on in the world, I think it's a very important time for the business entrepreneurs and also that specific country to create a bridge and how to take it to the next level. And also the economic aspect is very important. The taxation, it's a main factor also in investing in East Europe. Overall, I think a lot of business from America, they should take a look at East European market, not only for real estate, but for IT, technology, and so many other opportunities.
Thank you.
Very good. I guess I would start by saying that the grand crypto cyberpunk dream of a global parallel financial system is good and dead. It never was going to work, and that's the bull signal to me. I've frankly been waiting for this moment in crypto DeFi since 2011, when my roommate was mining Bitcoin on his laptop during class. Now, the disruptive potential of this has always been obvious, but it's been, call it an industry of cowboys, and you were earlier talking about right place, right time. And you could have a great thesis, but it wasn't really going to hold water. The industry was so nascent. It's become large enough that it cannot be ignored, which is, call it what I would call it the proof of concept fundamentally, because it is pioneered and innovated around financial infrastructure in ways that the global financial system, global capital markets dearly needs. This is one of, I consider two of the last great frontiers to be disrupted by fundamental technology, the other being healthcare, but I won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And if you look at anything from instant atomic 24/7 settlement, financial logic that's programmable, composable, and completely collapsing reconciliation risk. It's the boring financial plumbing that is actually incredibly exciting, because that is where the real disruptive potential of everything crypto built, of everything blockchain built, is able to be absorbed within our global financial system and global capital markets to make them more frictionless, more efficient, and actually democratize access to global capital markets. Now, a particular example of that, it's my favorite of our, I shouldn't say our favorites, but it's one of our best portfolio companies, is a company called Ascend. Now, of the 1,500 deals that my partners and I looked at, manually, mind you, over the past couple of years, they are the greatest founder problem fit I've ever come across. The CEO is a man named Dennis O'Connell, who's one of the founders of the ERC 3643, which, if you don't know, is the token standard for...
So Yorick, what would make that different? I mean, because you're very, it's good conviction. What would make you so convicted that this will be successful now versus leading up to now?
That's a good question. It's an institutional adoption. Tokenization up until now has really been an issuance story and not a market story. And that's because I can't tell you how many RWA projects have pitched me over the last year with some version of, if you build it, they will come. It's a bunch of inert supply.
Well, I think institutions are adopting tokenization. I'm sure George has a lot to say about that. But in terms of decentralization, other than Bitcoins being through ETF, I mean, I don't think institutions have adopted decentralization for the same reason why with agentic AI, they wouldn't be jumping into that either.
Precisely. And then that's why this is so important, because ultimately, this is the plumbing that brings DeFi in from the cold. Even if you look at Securitize, the massive incumbent there, I mean, they're an issuer. This company, Ascend, that I'm talking about in particular, they are the NAV lending, tri-party repo, basis trade financing. They are the fundamental infrastructure that makes on-chain assets useful. And that's what's really exciting to me, because ultimately it takes an ossified system and is making it better to everyone's benefit within the room, but everyone's benefit globally.
George, I'm going to turn this over to you because I'm looking at the panelists and seeing who has the background. And I think you would be able to build on top of this.
Okay, no problem. Let me go at it. I think although my three key technologies are cybersecurity, AI, and Web3, which is all the blockchain technology, there has been a real issue with the blockchain. And primarily the issue is one of adoption. Today, there's like 4 or 5% of people have wallets. That's a big issue. There's a usage problem. We need to fix that usage problem, then you'll get massive market. However, sometimes things are in where you don't expect to be. And I'll give you one very smart example that was built in one small company in Dubai. It was adopted by the largest telecom operator in the world. They use smart contracts to build contracts between themselves and their suppliers. The average telecom operator has got something like 100 suppliers, batteries, cellular towers, servers, storage, just to name a few. And all this is done by paper. They replace that to make it electronic smart contracts, but it's not visible to anybody. It's a blockchain that is hidden. So the best technology is not the one that you see, is the one that is underneath. Guess how much this telecom operator saved by implementing enterprise blockchain? $450 million a year. They removed the paper.
But my point is, did it require decentralization, or was it a closed system?
Very limited decentralization.
Exactly.
Only 3 nodes.
Right, and so that was my point, is that for institutions adopting quote unquote crypto right now, it's still in a closed loop.
So decentralization is a balance. And if you have too much decentralization, your systems are simply too slow. So it does not work always in the real world. That's why, for example, Bitcoin does not work in the real world of payment transactions. If you do 5, 10 transactions per second, it's a toy. You need 100,000, 1,000,000 transactions per second. If you're doing payment systems and, for example, gaming transactions, they do microtransactions. You have a smart city. You want to do payment transactions in a smart city. You need 5 million transactions per second. Otherwise, there is no smart city.
Right. And we'll move on, but the difference between a microtransaction in a game and a payment is, of course, the value and the impact that costs. So, but thank you, and thanks, Jorik. Moving on back to Felix.
Sorry, what's the question?
The question is now, I don't know if we'll get through everybody, but like thinking about the statement that made the investment decision you're making, what would it take for you to lose your conviction on that?
Lose conviction on PurePipe? I think if there was a revolutionary new process, which most leaks occur at joints in steel pipes. So if there was a revolutionary new technique that somehow stopped leakage, that would be a risk. If there was a demand destruction for some reason, that's a risk. But really, where we're at and this commercial scale up, it's more right now, for example, in Ireland, that we have final commercial certification and validation going on. So what's ahead of us is just the huge commercialization. I mean, there's already 100 million in contracts just in the Middle East, which are just slightly held up for the moment, but there'll probably be a very, very strong 2027.
Thanks. Safir.
Well, I will say if education suddenly became to reunite everybody in the world, my role will become very kind of limited. And I feel education is something that we are lacking globally because our education system is catered for I guess, special people to control and divide the world. So if that happens, I guess my role will become poor.
And for the concept that you brought up, do you think that artificial intelligence, the way that education will change or adapt, will affect any of this?
Well, we have to, because look, if we don't bring education and the human element, we're going to see a huge divide. I mean, I was reading the article the other day. Kids now have 93% issue with the concentration. You know, how do we bring our education to a level so we can bridge the gap between what is AI doing and what is the element of humans is capable of. So we got to achieve that balance, and achieving that balance is the most important thing for me and my generations to come, because that's ultimately what I want to create, where we can create an eco legacy, so the human generations can benefit today, tomorrow, and for the rest of the world.
Yeah. How many people in the room have children not yet university age? All right. So, and I should have introduced my daughter, Olivia, here. So I was talking in the beginning how we made her pitch which university she wanted to go to. Imagine now her 16-year-old brother, we're actually talking about, are you going to university? Just conceptually, like, are you really going to go or are you not going to go? Because of the way that education is changing. We have the benefit he will go, but did he need to go or does he need to go in the entrepreneurship? So I think that's something that I think about all the time. Yorick.
Very good. So the question is, what would cause me to lose my conviction in this?
Yeah, and the reason why we're doing this exercise is not me picking on you. I like doing Steelman exercises where you pressure test your own idea, right, to make sure that it's stronger. So I just wanted people to get the concept of that.
Very good. So actually bouncing off of what you said earlier, which is, I thought, absolutely fantastic example. There are two cases. One would be borrower demand not showing up. But, you know, if you look through, I've never known an institution that didn't want to actually put their capital to use, other than maybe Berkshire at the moment. And then the other side would be, call it the annihilation of DeFi in the crypto space, because ultimately what's interesting about this is actually being able to put those assets to productive use in the global financial system and thereby improve it. But if it were wiped out tomorrow, if some quantum vector attack makes Bitcoin go to zero tomorrow, then I think I'll have to start looking elsewhere.
Well, we're just waiting until when quantum comes, right? Simona.
Well, you said before entrepreneurships, and I have to say this is a major problem, specifically in America right now. It's almost disappearing, this concept. All the new generation, I don't know how to put this, but we have the most lazy generation I ever saw. Nobody wants to work, and everybody is waiting for something or the government to pay their bills. So I think we have to go back to the basics to teach our kids what means entrepreneurships, to teach them about perseverance, goals, dreams. I think all this is lost right now in the society, and it's replaced by social media, who unfortunately most of the times they give us a fake reality of life. And I saw you are very proud about your daughter, and I admire that. And I hope that in the future, us like a society, we take steps to correct this attitude, who determine the future of our kids and also the future of our nation.
Thank you.
The thing I would like to add applies both to cybersecurity, but applies to education and a few others. I think we live in a world that is accelerating at a much higher pace. That really means what you learn in university is outdated. So that means whether you are a small kid or you are an adult or you are somewhere in between, guess what? You have to learn every day, because if you stop learning, the world will pass you by. So no matter what business you take, what business you invest in, take a percentage of your time a day. Read a book, read the internet, read and combine all that information to increase. The interesting aspect about learning is the more you learn, the more stupid you feel, because you realize that there's so much more to know that you unfortunately will never have the capability to absorb. The beauty about AI, or the usage as a complement as a human, is that it extends that learning capability. So it now kind of becomes your extension, but you still have to have the ultimate decision. So by balancing your own personal learning with the capacity to absorb a lot more information at the same time, you can become more productive, and you can feel a little bit less stressful in today's stressed world.
Yeah, so I know that George and I, and maybe some of the others on the panel, we come out of enterprise tech. And back in the dot-com era, and I know you've heard me, for those who come to these events on a regular basis, companies like Cisco back in the day, we said we worked in dog years. So for every 1 year of calendar time, 7 years of advancement has happened in technology. Right, George? And so when we talk about people developing AI, it's not 7 years, it is actually 64 years every 12 months. So it's actually a 64x. And so although I talked about university, I do agree with George that the point of university is just to learn. If you're going at that pace, that's why professors are having such a hard time, right? Because the students can actually progress much faster on the actual academic portion of it, but maybe not the societal skills or the soft skills. So I think that's something to remember. But if you haven't yet started working or testing out AI on your own, you may get left behind. I think that's the key there.
I think I would like to maybe leave one last point I think is important in life today. Don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail many times, but consider the failing as another education.
Yeah, that's a good point. Lenny.
So I spoke earlier about the opportunity around open finance and how every single one of your jobs is going to change in the next 3 years because of this. Put simply, open finance is an open framework which makes every single bank product, price, and rate publicly available to everyone. What this means is that suddenly your private wealth banker, your relationship manager, is not going to have any power anymore by taking you on the golf course, because suddenly agentic AI or even your competitors will have access to every single deal that you thought was only yours. So that's why I want to encourage everyone to take a look at open finance. The reason, 2 reasons I would be bearish on this is, one, if the regulators are too slow. So the UAE is the first market in the world to make open finance public. The UK, Australia, Brazil, India, Hong Kong are all launching their open finance products by the end of this year. So the regulators need to be fast. If they're slow, I'm bearish. Second of all, banks are mandated by the central bank to make all of their data public now. And even though banks are mandated, if they are slow to upload all of their products and prices, that makes me also bearish on the market.
Thanks. Just to finish, I want to do a lightning round. If you had $1 more to invest in something that you're not already invested in, where would that go? We'll just go straight down the line.
So I'm very interested right now in hybrid seeds, like genetically modified seeds in emerging markets. With AI, we have discovered new ways to make very popular seeds available in markets where they were not yet available to be grown. For example, one of the largest businesses in Pakistan, for example, is a seed which cannot be grown there because of the soil. It doesn't work. However, through genetic modification of these seeds, you are able to grow them in new markets. So take a look at hybrid seeds.
Thank you.
I would invest probably in power, because that's the biggest bottleneck. Without power, AI will not exist, because we consumed already most of the power that is available. So you need to find power wherever it is. Hydrogen, nuclear, turbines of all kinds of sorts, a bit of innovation like getting hydrogen out of the ground. So all these innovations will help us power we can call it the AI-based economy. So AI-based economy needs electricity, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was no coincidence that when ChatGPT and Anthropic came out, every jurisdiction wanted to restart nuclear power plants and companies. Simone?
Definitely in health. If we don't have health, we have nothing. So longevity, definitely that will be my industry to invest.
Very good. That's a great question. I'd probably say efficient AI infrastructure. Exactly as you touched on, the power demands, the compute demands of it, the financial demands of it are so massive, you've essentially got an oligopoly globally. But there are novel ways to compress that down as much as 97%. That will probably be my next investment, quite frankly.
Keith, I would definitely do water every day, every week, every year for my entire life. And as a child, when you're 6 years old and knowing that you're going to spend 4 hours, 8 hours collecting water every day, and then you kind of reflect on life where $1 can actually fix somebody's 4 hours or 8 hours a day. And then you have a vision to become a water boy, and you become the best water boy age 11. And now, I'm looking at the water solutions for many countries. So for me, every dollar is all about water.
Thanks.
This might seem a little off-piste, but I see just major opportunities in banking in Southern Europe. Southern Europe banking is heavily dependent on paper-based branch banking. It's kind of where the UK was, let's say, about 92, that sort of time-ish. So traditionally, Spain is a hot residential market right now. People have to fly down, go to a bank branch and sign with a wet signature. It's an easy solution to make that 100% digital. And what I would also like about that in the agentic AI era, where you're thinking about risks and benefits, what's very defensible are things exactly like that, where agentic AI cannot disrupt what's not digitally connected. And the same, in Purepipe, it's physical hard infrastructure. So even within service industries, like I'm discussing now in terms of banking, there are areas where agentic AI can still be strongly defended. So.
Yep. Well, thanks again, everyone. It's funny. I think more and more these gatherings are become important because data is pretty plentiful. And as we were speaking, and I don't particularly use this prompt, but I got a prompt on my phone that said it says 300 family offices decide AI's fate this week. So what if somebody's phone in the audience is open, right? Because if you know how AI works, my phone's closed. But the point I'm making is that it's only through these rooms that we're going to hear about things that you can't actually find by doing a prompt search on AI. So I do want to thank everyone for being on this panel. I think that it's a good example of being able to share knowledge, and actually we're able to agree and disagree. Anthony and Carmelo and Hadi, thank you so much again for hosting us every time. I think the Lake Como event has been phenomenal. So thanks for having us.
Thank you.